Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Big East Rewind. I am your 7-foot host from Villanova University, Chuck Everson, and as always, the man coaching third base today, my main man, the point guard, Sonny Sparrow, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, Sonny?
Chuck, I'm great. Very excited about our guest today. I remember when he landed, it was a big deal. I don't know if Syracuse was even in the picture for him, but man, this is a good guest we're going to have.
That's for sure. I tell you what's crazy, Sonny, about doing this thing. It goes in cycles, right? So one time we'll get 2 or 3 players from Georgetown, and the next time we get 3 or 4 players from Syracuse. Now, recently we've been hitting it big with the St. John's guys, so we got another red man in the house. Okay, I can't say Red Storm. I'm sorry, not in my DNA. Not in my DNA.
You can't. I would fumble over it. That's right.
Red man. I'm a red man.
Without any further ado, okay, St. John's legend is with us today, Sonny. The 27th pick by the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA draft. He had a long career overseas, and he's from my island, Long Island, my main man. Okay,
another big guy.
Morris, Sonny.
Another big guy from
Sheldon Jones is with us. How are you, Shel?
I'm doing wonderful, Chuck. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh,
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here, Sheldon.
So there was a big debate, Shel. You don't know this because Sonny and I go after this seriously. We don't just show up.
Serious journalists.
Okay.
So I had to make some calls to check this because our fact finders tell me that you were in a movie with Joe Pesci, and I said I never heard of that, called The Super. And I said I looked at the cover.
I've seen the movie. I've seen the movie. Seen the movie.
So it looked like you on the cover, and I had to call like 5 different Amityville guys to find out that it wasn't you.
No, that wasn't me.
Yeah, but so this is the kind of stuff that we go through. I just don't want you to think you're walking into some Mickey Mouse thing that we do. You know what I mean?
No, I've heard that before though. I've heard that they thought I was in that movie. Guy kind of looks like me. I understand why, but that's not me.
That's funny. Because it's funny because the guy had a line. He goes, "I'm the milkman." He goes, "Why do they call you the milkman?" He goes, "Because I killed the milkman." So
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So since I mentioned Amityville, tell us about your high school team. You guys had some team for years there at Amityville with Jack Agostino, right? You played for Jack?
Well, no, he's after me.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I played for Fred Williams. Like we had the first undefeated league season in Amityville.
Okay. So listen, coming out of there, basketball on Long Island back then was great because every team had 2 or 3 really good players,
Absolutely.
And I think around your time was like Matty Brust and Derek Brower, Syracuse guy.
Yeah.
And then you guys played in that Newsday Classic game against the city, right? How did that work out? Because it didn't work out too good for us when I played in that game. We got kind of killed, but
same thing happened to us. Like it was the same thing all over again. Yeah. I think if I'm remembering right, I think they beat us by at least 20, at least.
They had a squad though. They had Derek Chivas on that team and Ed Daviner and there was a bunch of guys, future pros. Yeah, Boo was playing.
They had a really good team. They had a really good team.
You had 3 St. John's guys in that game. That's pretty good. And so back then they were recruiting on the island and in the city. They were getting city guys and stuff to St. John's.
Right. At that time, sure.
Yeah. So tell me about growing up in Amityville. Or you from Copeg, right? Copeg and Amityville, for people that don't know, are right next to each other. So talk about that dynamic for a minute, will you?
Well, yeah, I started out in Copeg. That's where I originally were. And I think when I started going to school, well, after kindergarten, 1st grade, we moved to Amityville.
Yeah.
Which is right next door, but it's a big deal. We're big rivals.
Big rivals, right?
Absolutely. So then in my 1st grade year, I went to moved to Amityville. And I've been there ever since.
Right. Wow.
I remember all through the years, the coaches from Copeg were trying to recruit me, trying to get me to come back over to Copeg. Because, back in those days, all you needed was an address. And all of my family lived in Copeg, so I didn't have a problem with an address. But my mom wasn't having it.
Right. Yeah, that big rival games. That's like Brentwood, Bayshore, and that type of thing. That was like
huge
those
rival.
games. Those games got like a college atmosphere, right? When you played those guys.
Absolutely, and you definitely needed to have security there. Trust me.
So look, when did it become apparent to Shelton that, you know what, basketball is going to be my game?
Well, for me, it always was. Like I
Always?
had that naive sense to think that I could do anything, you know, as a kid. So I really believed that I could make it. And that's another thing. Like I grew up in the church, you know, the Church of God in Christ, and that's one thing that they instilled in us. You know what I mean? That with Christ, all things are possible. You know, and I heard that saying, and I ran with it. You know. But I always thought that I'd be a basketball player. Wasn't sure if I'd make it to where I did, but I knew I'd always be a basketball player.
But were you playing any other sports? You know, you were younger.
I did. I played football. Baseball was actually my second sport. I was really good at baseball. I made the All-Star team every year growing up. I was the highest batting percentage on my team. You know, baseball was definitely my second love. I think I played baseball up until 10th grade. And then I kind of started focusing on basketball.
You realize Chuck being the Long Island big guy, right? So he brings Wennington, Ron Stewart, Matt Bruss. I'm like, where's the guards?
6'9" now. Shell 6'9", Sonny.
Where's the guards in Long Island, man? Let's talk to one of them.
Yeah, I actually started out as a point guard. You know what I mean? And going to St. John's, I thought I was going to be a point guard at that 6'7", 6'8". You know, so that's my original position.
Wow, that's something.
There you go. See, we had some guards on Long Island, Sonny. You got Kenny Atkinson.
Oh, I know you had them.
You had Billy Donovan.
They just haven't been on the show.
Billy, give me a call. We'll have you on, you know.
Yeah, you named two of the best guards from Long Island of all time, by the way.
I know. We had some players, man. Don't sleep on us, Sonny. You know,
Absolutely.
You upstate guys, you know.
Well, I will say something, though, because I know when Derek signed, because Derek and I are pretty good friends. I remember your reputation was larger than life, the Amityville Horror. Tell me about, when did that come about? Because I remember that book, and I'm a scaredy cat. So I read part of that book, and then I put it down because I couldn't sleep for a month. So tell me, like, when did that all come about? When did you become the Amityville Horror?
Well, the first time I remember hearing it was after I signed with St. John's University.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of the writers and different things use that name, that moniker for me, the Amityville Horror. It's not anything that I started. I started hearing it about me. They started calling me that. But yeah, I kind of just took that and ran with it once they started calling me that.
Yeah, that's a big compliment, really.
Listen, Sonny, that house is like walking distance from the high school, from Amityville High School. It's right around the corner and down the block, and it's the only house on the street, Sonny, that faces sideways. You know, the front of the house does not face the street. It's
just so you know, I have no interest in ever walking past it, knocking on the door.
It's still there. It's still there. And a guy bought it years and years ago and used to have big Halloween parties there.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, so that was like a big
spot. From the time it happened to maybe 20, 30 years later, every Halloween.
Every Halloween.
Every Halloween.
Yep.
Guess what? I'm not knocking on his door looking for Reese cups. Trust me.
So who is involved now at the end when you're being recruited, Shell? Who were you talking to? Talk about the process and what it was like for you being recruited by some of the schools that you were recruited by.
Well, my recruiting process was pretty fast. Like, I got tired of it really quick. It got old really fast.
Wow.
Like, I remember my junior year, I was taking all my visits. I took maybe 2 visits. I didn't take them all. I think you had 5 visits or something like that. I took 2. I went to Temple and I went to Marquette. Those are the 2 schools that I visited, and 2 awesome visits. I after those 2 visits, I couldn't take anymore. Like, cause it was like I wanted to go to Temple, then I wanted to go to like everywhere I was going. They were showing me such a good time, so I was just like, man, I can't do this. Like, if I go to one more school, I might not go to St. John's. So I cut the recruiting process after that, and I after those 2 visits, and I chose to go to St. John's because the process was I was getting close. I love the coach at Temple. I believe his name was
Cheney, right?
Who was the coach at Temple?
John Cheney.
John Cheney. The legend, John Cheney legend. And over there at Marquette was Majerus, I believe.
Ricky Majerus,
Jerris, yeah. And they, man, both of those guys, I fell in love with those coaches like that in that short of time. So I had to stop the process. It was like having meet a new girl or something. Like it was too much. It was too much. And then when I get home after school, I get home and there's coaches lined up on County Line Road, if you know where that is, Chuck.
No, I know exactly where that is.
Lined up all through the school, waiting to see me, like one after the other, as soon as I get home. And that was too much, man. I had to stop that. So that's why my junior year, I signed the early commitment at St. John's. Getting too much.
Were you always thinking St. John's? Because you said, "Oh, I had enough. I'm going to St. John's." I mean, how early did they get in the picture for you?
Maybe 5th, 6th grade. I grew up playing on this traveling team, St. Martin's from Amityville. It was a traveling team, St. Martin's Tours. And I used to go over to coach's house before all the games, and we watched the, St. John's games. And it was just, seeing the band play, because they were the only really local, big time college basketball team that we had. Right. So they were on TV all the time. So when I'm watching, I'm going, hey, and these guys in the background are going, man, you could play there one day. And they all in my head and stuff. So I'm watching like, maybe so, maybe it's possible, But I've watched St. John's all growing up, man. Like they didn't even really have to recruit me. They just had to show up, and that's basically what they did.
Did they ever put you like, hey, hang out with Bill Wennington or Chris Mullen? Or was that ever?
No, I didn't do it. They didn't do anything like that. I tell you, the only thing that they did that they needed to do was show me that highlight tape with the music. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Chuck, if they showed you or if you guys ever seen it, but after that, I was dead. I was dead in the water. I think I had tears coming out of my eyes for watching this video, man.
So, Shell, it didn't come into effect? It didn't affect you that campus life there wasn't going to be a typical normal college campus? I mean, you guys had apartments, right? You lived off campus.
Yeah, we did.
Well, how did that work? Because I talked to Ron Stewart about that, as we were playing and growing up. Ronnie and I, both from Brentwood. So right. Ronnie and I would talk about that. Tell us about that situation and how that worked.
Well, for me, I've never been to college before, so I didn't know any difference. I heard a lot about college life. But I didn't know. Like it's the only, so having the apartments was the only thing I knew.
Right.
Now, when I look back on the situation, I digress. I say, oh man, I really wish I would have had the college life. Like visiting my friends and playing games on the road and my friends telling me what they were doing on campus and how it was and everything. Then, I kind of wanted it then, like to look back. But going into it, I didn't know anything else. So it was still awesome experience for me.
So all the players lived in the same apartments? Is that how it worked? Was it like a dorm without being a dorm?
Apartments. We had a few apartments located not too far from each other.
Okay.
That's how we did it. And Ron Stewart actually was my roommate. I think he was the graduate assistant, and we were roommates at that time. Okay. So I got to roommate with him as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So your freshman year though, right? Wasn't Chris and Bill were seniors, right?
Yeah, they were seniors.
Yeah,
correct.
And Ronnie, that was
Ronnie. That was Mike Moses and Mike Moses. Yeah.
Mike Moses, that's right. He was
Mike. I know.
You guys were loaded. Your freshman
sometime.
Year, man. Holy cow! I mean, that was some squad. I mean, that was Plansky was a freshman on our team. He was the same year as you, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Yep.
He went to the Final Four, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, let's now that you mentioned it, let's get into that season, Shell. I mean, so in 84, 85, you guys and Georgetown are basically the number 1 or number 2 teams in the country all season long.
All year, right? Yeah.
So talk about playing against those guys, the sweater game and the games at the Garden. And you guys played each other, 4 times that year?
Yes.
Including the Final Four?
At least 4 times, yes.
Yeah. So talk about that. What was that like?
Amazing rivalry. I remember those games. But the thing that I remember most about those games is the ticket prices. Like people were calling, asking for tickets that they were willing to pay $1,000 for our tickets, man. It was amazing. Yeah, back then. But that's how hyped it was. Like there was the hype surrounding those games. Like that entire year, that 84, that Final Four year. Like it was just amazing, just the camaraderie that we learned, and things like that. The whole experience of that, was awesome. I don't think we could match that the intensity of it all and everything. You couldn't match it.
But think about in the country though, 1 and 2 in the country. It's not just East Coast. It's not just Big East. It's the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
That's what
amazing.
made it so exciting. It was like everywhere we went, we were like rock stars. It was amazing.
Oh, I believe that. So tell me, I mean, I'm not looking to break your chops. Don't get me wrong. But you guys lost to Niagara that year, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
You lost to Niagara and
Wait.
here you are
Shelton,
playing.
I'm not looking to break your chops. You're
However,
the 1 or 2 team in the country. He's going to talk about Niagara.
well, it's a Long Island thing, Sonny, you know?
Hey, I still jump out of my sleep. Niagara. Like I still jump out of my sleep.
How did that happen? What happened in that game?
I have no idea. I have no idea how it happened. Like I can't explain it. My palms get sweaty even today when I think about that.
Oh, I get it.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'll
I'm
tell you
taking
what.
you remember that game.
There was a Long Island guy on that team. I don't know if you know. Alex Agudio played on that team. You remember Alex?
Of course.
He played at Walt
Of
Whitman.
course.
He was on that team. He could shoot the lights out, that guy.
That's now it's coming back to me. Now I know what happened. He got hot. I remember what happened now. Like
Yeah.
this guy wouldn't miss. He wouldn't miss. I forgot all about that. I think he
Yeah,
just
Al,
did he just transfer there or was he there the whole time?
I don't remember if he transferred from there to another school or if he went to another. I think it was Penn State and Niagara. I don't know which
Okay,
one
I
it
think
was.
so. I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think you're right.
But he was a great. In fact,
Yeah.
up until a couple of years ago, I'm not sure if he's still playing, but he's playing in men's leagues and still doing that up and under hezzy thing that he used to do. Man.
Oh man,
People off their feet.
he's definitely he's a legend. Alex Agudio's a legend. As soon as you brought the name up, I remember now what
Yeah,
happened.
bingo, right?
He's a legend. He's a legend.
So Georgetown gets you. I mean, you get Georgetown the first game, and then they came back and got you 3 times. So talk about being in the Garden, you know, with Coach's lucky sweater, okay, and now Big John shows up and he's got a lucky T-shirt. Talk about what that was about.
Man, that probably was one of the most awesome experiences that I've been through. You know,
Yeah.
the whole time, my entire career, like just the electricity, just the surprising element, you know, of it all. It was just an awesome time. And I really, you know, like everybody looks at that as fun, but I know when Louis saw that sweater, he kind of took his words away because he was very superstitious. He was a very superstitious coach. Maybe he didn't believe that it was the shirt, but he believed it was the shirt. You know, it was that kind of thing. So when he saw that, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, like it just threw us all off. It kind of, for a second, it relaxed us too. Like it was very smart on John's coach Thompson's part, you know, to do that because it kind of made us relax a little bit too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And man, they took it to us.
He kept the coat all wrapped up so you couldn't see what he was doing. And he
The
pulled it
whole
off like he was Superman
hairstyle.
cutting out of the phone booth, right?
It was awesome, just like Superman coming out of the booth. It was
right,
awesome.
exactly.
It was awesome.
So let me ask you specifically, do you have any memories of any things like any like in those because Georgetown was a feared opponent and they played a very physical brand. They were branded as, you know, this tough us against the world type of deal. Do you have any memories of any matchups or any situations that you remember just from any of those games?
Well, not necessarily the matchup so much like that I remember, especially like in later years, like because I got to know like a few guys from Georgetown, like David Wingate, Charles Smith. You know what I mean? Those guys became like really, really good friends of mine. And the thing that I learned the most, was surprised the most about those guys, is they were nothing like the intimidation factor that Coach Thompson put. Because even at the Chuck, I don't know if you remember, but even at the Big East dinners and different things like that, they would never sit with us. Like he would have them together. They'd be like a team. They wouldn't be smiling too much. They would just, you know, the whole thing. So the thing that I learned was surprised the most was about how great those guys. It was a great group of guys, man. Like I love those Georgetown guys.
Yeah, we can vouch for that because since we've been doing the show, we've been friendly with a bunch of those guys. We had about 8 or 9 of those guys on at one point or another, and everybody's better than the next. It was unbelievable. Awesome. Especially Sonny being an Orangeman, it threw him off. It threw him for a loop. He didn't know what to say.
Yeah, I thought I was going to lose my orange card for a little while. I actually became good friends with a bunch of them, and they're great guys. Like Chuck said.
Awesome people.
So Shel, tell us about your relationship with Coach Carnesecca. Tell us some of the things that endeared you to him, and what he meant to you, and some stories that you can share with us about maybe things that he did or said?
Well, I mean, so many things, man. I mean, like coach was like a second father, to all of us guys. He kept us on a small rope, he kept us on a tight rope, and always talking, always giving, like, he's always giving advice, always giving wisdom. That's the thing that I remember the most, about him. That is all. What he did for me, he used to wake me up in the mornings, and because I remember when I first came to St. John's, I had kind of a push shot. I didn't have it really put it up here and let it fly, jumper. I was pushing it from down here. So I remember he was like, what the fuck is that? Like, what are you doing? Like, like, I was like, Coach, what do you mean? He said, you're 6'7", 6'8". You're gonna give the guys a chance. The guards can come in. He's going, because he's he loves basketball, lives, sleeps, eats it. So he's telling me what's my shot, what's wrong with it. So, and he has me out there my entire freshman year. He had me on that court at maybe 6 o'clock in the morning before classes. Like, he took time to do that with me and got my jumper right for me. Those are the times that I remember the most about him, because we got to talk. It wasn't only just about basketball, but we got to talk about life. Those are the things that I remember the most about him.
What about team meals and stuff? You guys would go where? To Dante's, right? For that kind of stuff?
Dante's was the place.
Look at his face light up, man.
His face light right up. Yeah, man.
Dante's. Oh, my God.
I can relate to that, Sonny,
I think we used to look forward to the pregame meals at Dante's more than the games.
Yeah.
Like, more than the games. Like, we used to finish at Dante's and go, oh, that's right, we got a game to play.
So would Coach be at pregame meal with you guys?
He would be. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. There were some schools where that wasn't the case. And, that was the time where Coach Mass would come and talk to us and, break chops, and, we'd cut up, we would goof around on each other. It was very loose, but then there were times where he would walk around and talk to certain guys about what was going to go on in the game. So what was Louis' MO at pregame? Do you remember?
Well, it was kind of like that. Like, he was always at the pregame meals. I remember that. And he kind of did that and had his round of guys that he talked to, before each game or whatever, like that. Because I noticed, like, the older I got, the more he talked to me before the game. So that's one of the things that I noticed. He had, like I said, he had us on a short leash.
Well, like my partner, Sonny, who's also happens to be Italian, Louis is very favored towards the guards. That seems to be the way that Louis operated. He was a big Boo Harvey guy and a Mike Moses, right? Did he show a lot of favoritism to guys, or was he an equal opportunity guy? His office door was open to all of you, right? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, with myself, like, coming into St. John's, I was 6'7", coming from high school, and I was a point guard, like I said earlier. So, one of the main reasons I wanted to come to St. John's was to play point guard. And so, Coach told me that I could, like, he would assure me that I would, these are different things. And this is how our relationship started at St. John's. Like, I was supposed to be point guard, but I never got the opportunity to do it. Like, never in practice or anything like that. So that kind of, started off. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't know this, but, like, after the first month at St. John's, I was going to transfer.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I was going to leave. First of all, I wanted to play point guard, and it wasn't happening. Because we had, but we were loaded at the point guard position.
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, you had Mark. You had Mike.
Even the backups that we had, Steve Sharina, like, different guys that we had, like, the backup were good, like, they were unbelievable. You know what I mean? So I get it, but it kind of messed me up a little bit. That I never got the opportunity to play the point guard. But he didn't really show favoritism. I don't think that there was anything. Maybe a little bit with Mark Jackson. Maybe a little bit. But like, look at who he was. Like, I could understand that.
Yeah, he was dropping dimes all over the place, that guy. You look at he was one of the guys, Shell, that you don't even realize what he did until you look at the box score and you go, man, how did he get 12 assists?
Perfect explanation of this guy. Perfect. Like, we thought
it was kind of smooth. It was kind of a smooth game. I like this game,
Yeah, we were talking amongst ourselves, some of the players on the team and different things. We were thinking that Mark didn't really even have a shot. Like, he fooled us just as well. He was so smooth about it that he fooled us as well.
Yeah.
He was the coach on the floor, though, so I could see where a coach would.
He was the coach on the floor, at the club, at the barbershop, in the car.
Well, listen, that's a true point guard mentality. That's why they make such good coaches. And
Absolutely.
Sonny's going to loop that clip that I just said.
I'm
and
going
you'll
to
see
play that
on a reel
over
somewhere,
and over and over. I hope to hear that on rewind a couple times.
That's right. Right. That's right. So
did you
go ahead, son.
but when you came as a freshman now, did any of the players look to take you under their wing? Because I know that in some other programs that's a common thing. And probably from what you said, you were thinking of transfer. And I would imagine Lou probably reached out to a player or two. So, hey, go get Shelton, go talk to him. He's going to be a great player, et cetera, et cetera. Did you have any of that kind of mentorship, let's say?
Well, actually, when I was thinking of transferring, I didn't let the players know. So, they didn't even really know. What happened was Coach got Ron Rutledge, assistant coach Ron Rutledge. I'm not sure if you remember, but he came and talked to me. You know what I mean? And Ron was one of the few black coaches around at the time. So I guess I felt like I could relate to him and what he was saying. You know what I mean? So he definitely talked me back off the ledge. For sure.
I think every team had that guy. In Syracuse.
Oh, you had to.
It was Bernie, right?
Bernie.
Yeah. There was a lot of those guys back in the day. Yeah.
But was there any players though that kind of had?
Well, at the time, Sonny, remember Rob Carnegie?
I sure do.
Rob Carnegie. Well, he was with us at that time. So, and both of us were unhappy. And if you look back, he wound up leaving. Leaving.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think, Ron Rutledge talked me into staying. So kind of Rob was the guy that I was talking to about it, because he was serious. Obviously, he was serious about it as well because he left. He left before I could make my decision.
Well, you had a great career there. So when did it turn on for you? Like when did
Well, I know it seems like I had a great career. Everybody tells me that, like they, but I'm still frustrated, especially when I look at my numbers from freshman year all the way up to senior year. Because my whole time at St. John's, even though I looked confident, I looked like one of the men and that he's one of the main guys in those, I never felt like that.
Oh,
like
wow.
I always felt like I was proving myself. You know what I mean? Like I for some reason, I just felt like even my senior year, like no matter what I did, it felt like I never felt like that guy. You know what I mean? I never felt like the guy. I always felt like I was proving myself. Like that's a lot of people don't know that, but that's how I felt. And then my career, when I left college, it kind of set the standard for me. Like I was proving myself the whole time, like the whole rest of my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you felt like you had to prove yourself to coach every single day. Is that what you're saying?
Every day of my life, even in practice. Like I couldn't take a day off in practice like that. But that's one of the things that I love about coach is that how he had my mentality as a practice player. Like I played as hard as anybody in practice. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that I did pick up from there was how to play hard every minute. But it was tough. It was tough for me, man. Like I didn't feel like I was getting what I deserved. Freshman year, I understand. We're Final Four. Like I don't care how good you are, if you don't play and you make it to the Final Four, you still can't complain. We had a great team, guys in front of me. I understand, but then moving forward, I kind of had a tough time with it.
Right.
I had a tough time. It just felt like I was proving myself all the time.
See, that definitely didn't show.
Right.
As two guys that played against you, that definitely didn't show to us.
Yeah, I know.
Right? You hit that pretty good, man. I never would have guessed that.
Well, when they signed you, I was like, the rich get richer. They got such great talent. They've got, and Mark Jackson was that my senior year. I don't know if he started or was the first off the bat. I'm not sure if Mike. I thought Mike started, and I thought
Mike Moses would start it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Mark Jackson's a backup point guard. And now they got the they got the Amityville Horror coming. I'm like, oh man, like they just keep reloading.
You remember Walter Berry and I came in at the same time.
And Walter Berry.
Right. Well,
yeah, and Walter Berry, exactly. So I was like,
I still have nightmares about Walt.
I have nightmares about the guy, and I never played him. I was playing against him in practice.
Oh, smoke.
Truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's the reason him and Willie Glass and Ron Stewart, or the real reason why I wanted to transfer. Those guys were killing me the first month. Because you gotta remember, Chuck, I played point guard in high school. I'm facing the action. So now you're telling me that I'm 6'7", 175. You're telling me that I gotta put my back against Walter Berry, Bill Winnington, Willie Glad, Ron Stewart, these grown men, you know? And they're killing me for the first month. I was calling back home like, somebody come get me, rescue me. I can't do this, man. Are you kidding? But then I picked it up a little bit, you know. But the first month, I wanted to retire.
But that's a typical freshman thing, though, Shell. I mean, everybody had their guy that beat the crap out of them. Mine was John Pannone. How'd you like that? You know?
Oh man, I played against him a few times. Oh my God, I hated playing against that guy. So I can imagine every day in practice.
Every day, yeah.
Right, and then Matt Brust transfers in, and Matt's a physical player.
Yeah, Matt was a wild man. He was a football player that was playing basketball to his own.
Matt, let me tell you a story about Matt. Matt was given Amityville his freshman year. I wasn't even on varsity. I wasn't even thinking about varsity at the time. But he was giving us 40 points a game.
Wow. As
a freshman on varsity. Now there was a guy, I think my senior year, a funny story about Matt. It's really not about Matt, but we were on our way upstate. You know how it is, Chuck. You make your way upstate for the games. So we were playing in Westchester, and I was playing against a guy named Jimmy Owens. I don't know if you guys remember that name. But at the time, he was a pretty good player, 6'6", athletic, high jumper, good athlete, you know. And after the game, we beat them. And he played okay, but I don't remember anything spectacular. So, and the reporter came up to me and he asked me. He said, who's the best player you ever played against? Like, so I didn't know he was expecting me to say Jimmy Owens, like that. So I started saying, Matt Brust. I was like, easily it's Matt Brust. I mean, Matt, and I started talking about Matt. And then I noticed, like, as I'm talking about Matt, the reporter's like looking at it, he's doing this, and he just goes, and waves his hand at me and walks away.
He just stopped the interview right in the middle.
He stopped the interview as I'm talking. He goes, just and walked away. I'm like, what the heck? I was like, what is that about? So then, time goes on or whatever a little bit. So the guy was talking to one of my teammates.
Yeah.
And come to find out, he was doing a story on Jimmy Owens and he was expecting me to say, oh, Jimmy's the greatest thing since milk, and all this other stuff. And I'm going on about Matt Brust, and the guy's like, whatever. But about Matt Brust, funny story, man. But Matt was a legend. Matt Brust was a legend to us since his freshman year.
Wow. Yeah, I know. He was tough. He was tough as a youngster. So
he was one of those guys like Pearl Washington, I think, who reached their peak very soon, like a lot sooner than most of us.
Yeah.
Well, you look at some of the schools, some of these. I mean, North Carolina. You're at St. John's. Boo. You got Davender going to Kentucky. Those are not small name schools. You're at big time schools. Yeah. That's a high level high school basketball competition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But do you guys know my senior year, we had a chance to get Gary Payton.
What happened?
Oh, really?
We had Gary Payton begging to come. You know how you got guys come in for the recruit, and we took him out a little bit. I think Mark was even there. Mark even came back to help us recruit him, Mark Jackson.
Wow.
We took him out, and then I just remember in the car taking him back to his hotel. He's like, man, guys, please, like let coach know I want to come. Like, he's begging us to come.
Wow.
He was like, man, we could have had him. Like, I know I probably would have been a lottery pick if they would have let him come.
Oh,
I know it would have helped my game, would have helped me tremendously.
Oh, he would have made everybody better, Shell. That's how he is.
We were that close to getting that guy, man. I don't know what happened, why we didn't take him, I don't know. But man, that was the biggest man. It was crazy. We had a chance to get him.
Wow, how about that? That would have been something.
It would have been awesome.
You guys didn't need any help, especially when you played us, because you had our numbers. We played you 3 times in '85. And lost all 3, and we couldn't handle. Chris and Walter gave us fits. What was the discussion amongst you guys behind the scenes? When we all get to the Final Four, and now you guys got Georgetown. And everybody is saying, well, that's the national championship game. Whoever wins that's going to win the whole thing. And then you see us beat Memphis. So now, what's the discussion pregame amongst you guys? Because it had to be licking your chops kind of thing.
Yeah. What Chuck's getting at is he thinks, right, that you figured out we beat Georgetown, we're a cakewalk through the final.
Well, that's what we were thinking.
Oh, yeah. See? What do you mean Chuck thinks?
For sure.
Chuck knows.
For sure. For sure. Like he mentioned earlier, though, like we had their number. Like we were doing them, all year.
Yeah,
Oh, I got you.
I think
You don't have to admit it so plainly, though.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it or anything for us, Shell. Come on.
We just matched up great, like with Villanova somehow, Like I think that still bothers me today because there's no way that St. John's versus Georgetown should have been the first matchup in that Final Four.
Yeah, that's a shame how that worked out, Shell.
Yeah,
There's no way.
Yeah. Well, listen, it was only fitting that you got together in the Final Four because it was the 1 and 2 team in the whole all year long. It was nobody else.
But it should have been the championship game, though.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I didn't make the brackets, but I'm glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, Chuck's not too happy about the way it started or finished.
Okay. So yeah, because we kind of had we always beat them one time a year, and that year we came close twice. One year, my freshman year, we beat them at the Palestra, Sonny's favorite gym. We beat them at the Palestra. We were down 5 with 45 seconds to play, and we won the game in regulation. And Eddie had 27 points and 22 boards against them. Then Dwight Wilbur hit a buzzer beater the next year at Landover at the Cap Center. Then in 85, so we got them once every year, but that was it, And you guys, I think I remember 2 games that we actually beat you guys in my whole 4 years. It was that crazy. It was that lopsided. Sonny and I split every year, right, son? We would lose up there and win in Philly. And with you guys, I don't think you were on the team yet when we played you guys at Alumni, which is now Carneseca.
Yeah, we played you there too.
There was a foul called at the end of the game, like at the buzzer. And we ran off the court. We thought we had won. We were up 2. We ran off the court, and the referee pulls us out of locker room. The game ain't over yet. Wow. Billy Whittington's on the foul line. He makes the first, misses the second, and then we ran off the court again. And the second one was at the Spectrum. John Pannone hit a buzzer beater, right at the top of the key, and that was it. So that's the only 2 that I can remember ever beating you guys. So it's always been.
You guys, with me, the only time you beat me when I was there was my senior year. I think you guys beat us at Carneseca Arena.
Yeah. Well, I was gone by then, your senior year, Yeah. But it was. So talk about that for a minute. Talk about the other rivalries in the Big East, because there were so many good ones. We always joke around with the Syracuse and Georgetown guys, but that was one of the biggest rivalries in sports. Not even just the Big East. That got huge. Talk about some of the rivalries that you guys had, other than Georgetown and Villanova.
Yeah. Well, Syracuse was a big rivalry for us because a lot of the New York City kids went to Syracuse. Right. So that was a big rivalry for us. Like those games were kind of like Georgetown. Like even if they didn't have number 1 tendencies, it was a big game. Like guys and people, the tickets were going for $1,000 a piece as well. Those were big games. So Syracuse for sure. Like my time being there, like those are really the biggest rivalries. It was like Villanova, Syracuse, and Georgetown.
How about individually, Shell? Who gave you a hard time?
I hated playing against those Pittsburgh guys.
Charles.
Oh my God, especially Charles Smith, because Charles is like 6'10", 6'11", with a 7'5", 7'6" wingspan. And it was just nuts. Like I just hated playing. And the funny thing is, when we rookie year, they had a seminar for the draft. They bring all the rookies out and they tell them a bunch of things. Well, we would like kind of had confession sessions of when we played, who was the hardest players to play against and things like that. And those guys were saying, like Jerome Lane especially, was saying the same thing about me. Like I was surprised. He was like, I hated to play against Shelton Jones. Like he just would do this shot, this move, and I could never and I was just surprised. Because you never really get to hear stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like how they were thinking or how they, thought about you. But those guys, those Pittsburgh guys, I hated playing. It was so athletic. They were so big, strong, and athletic.
They were real strong.
Those were the guys. Yeah, those guys, man.
And the Fitzgerald Fieldhouse was no easy place to play in. I mean, not
at all. I had one of my best games there, though, by the way. I love Fitzgerald Fieldhouse, but you're right. It's tough to play there.
You know, it was one of
Yeah,
those courts
tough
where like
place.
it seemed like the wood was right on top of the cement. There was no give to the floor. No, I'm surprised Jerome could dunk the ball there because there was no give at all on the floor there. It was terrible.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
you know,
the old
we only
floor,
got
the
last
old
year.
floor of the dome was tough to play on too. That rubber stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, at Pittsburgh, they didn't really have too much, wasn't too much thinking about the basketball players. They were a football school, you know.
Right, right,
So they didn't have
right.
the best, you know, gyms or anything.
Yeah, which you know. So gab out some Big East tournament memories. What do you remember about your time at the Garden playing on the big stage?
It was weird. Like the only thing that I remember most about the Big East tournament was that it felt like we should have won every time. That's what I remember. Like it was just.
I think if we had 8 guys here, Sonny, I think everybody would say the same thing, pretty much, right? Especially from the 14, like Georgetown, St. John's, Georgetown, and us.
Yeah.
You know? So
Because those were like home games for us, you know.
well, yeah, you were the
Yes,
home
it
team.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the home team, man. I mean, because once Gabbett made that move to make us go into play in the big arenas, he had the foresight to be able to do that, and it, you guys played 90% of your games at the Garden. You know,
The
you
big
still
games. Yep. All
yeah, the
big
big
games.
ones were all the
UCHC
Garden.
Holiday Festival. Yep. We was always at the Garden.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that you had to be spoiled by that as a kid growing up in Long Island. That was like a big deal. Because you were around for the early Knick games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Clyde and
Yeah.
Willis and those guys. And man, just walking into that place, you got chill shots going up your arms.
Yeah, they might as well make your own locker room for you. Put your own locker room stuff in there.
Right. They should have. Right. Exactly.
That was one of the best perks. One of the best perks we had was being able to go to the Knick games and meet the players and stuff like that. That was the best perk. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know. So you guys were able to just go to any game you wanted to, basically.
Basically, yeah. We go in the locker rooms after the games, like everybody knew us,
Wow. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, just like Patrick when he's coaching at Georgetown in the Big East finals. They're like asking for ID. Hello?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So okay. So now you get to the end of your St. John's career and you get drafted in the second round by the San Antonio Spurs.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you have an inkling that you were going to get picked by that particular team, or how did that all work out?
Oh, no, not at all. I thought for sure I was going to the Knicks.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
I remember I wasn't even going to the draft. I remember Coach Carnesecca asked me, well, what are you going to do, like, as far as the draft, And I said, well, I think I'm going to go home and watch it with my friends and my family, just watch it on TV. And he's like, there's no way you could do that. Like, the Knicks are going to pick you. What would it look like? They pick you, the hometown kid, and you're not there. Like, it's not going to look good. So I said, Coach, I said, I haven't even, like, interviewed with them. They didn't call me. Like, I haven't talked to them. What makes you think they're going to take me? So he's like, they're going to take you there, this, So I was like, okay, Coach, I'll go. I'll go to the draft. And on my way to the draft, they called me over and they detoured me over to the Knicks offices and they made me do a physical. They had me
right at the draft.
Right before the draft. I actually was on the way to the draft and they detoured me.
That's crazy.
To go to the Knicks. Yeah, and I actually had my shoes on, my suit and everything. I think I took off my jacket and a shirt and they gave me a t-shirt. And I had my dress pants and my shoes on. I'm on the treadmill. I'm doing because at first they were like, well, we're not gonna do much. Don't worry about your sneakers, your shoes. Don't worry about. We just want to check your body fat, different things like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Man, I wound up on the treadmill with my shoes on, sweating, going hard. You know what I mean? Like it was unbelievable. So I thought after all that, for sure they're gonna take me. They're gonna take me for sure. Man, I get to the draft and it comes up to the New York Knicks pick. And I could hear part of the people in the stands yelling Shelton Jones. The other part was yelling Rod Strickland. The other part was yelling Mark Bryant. So I was like, oh my God, like it was that was the craziest, like from the commissioner going up to the mic to say the next pick is the New York Knicks. From that moment until he said the New York Knicks select, that was the longest part of my life.
Wow.
Like the longest part of my life.
Who did they wind up taking? Strickland?
Rod Strickland.
Yeah.
Rod Strickland.
Wow.
Yeah. And when they did it, it was such a shock because Mark was rookie of the year before.
That's right. I remember that.
And Rod Strickland's coming in already ready. He's ready to come in. He's a little older. He was a
Yeah.
year, even though he graduated with us, he was a 1 year older. So he's mature, he's ready, you know?
Yeah.
Why would you take, and you see what happened with that
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
What happened with those guys, it all fell apart. But
Fell
that was,
apart.
it was amazing. It was almost like the devil came at the last minute to tell me, no, 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 no. Because I mean, because every kid from New York, that's their dream to play for the hometown team, you know?
Sure.
And I had just seen Mark do it the year before. And here he is at my side. Like, I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen again, you know? So when they took Rod Strickland, I mean, it sucked Chuck and Sonny, it sucked all the energy out of me. Like I was never the same. Even today, I'm not the same because of that. Like that took so much out of.
What pick was that, Shell, that the Knicks had?
I think anywhere from 17 to 19, something like that.
That was pretty much in the middle of the first round. And then
Right.
you slipped down to the second round, right?
Right.
So now here it is. You wanted to go home and hang with your boys and watch the thing. Coach talks you into staying, and now you're there. And every time somebody comes up to the podium, you're waiting for them to call your name because you thought you were going to go. What's that like? I mean, that had to be the longest night of your life.
It was. It definitely was. Like, that's why I say that night that changed my life, you know, because as a kid, at that age, as a kid, you have so much hope. You know what I mean? You have so much hope, so many dreams, so many expectations, you know what I mean? Yeah. And just to have them all sucked out of you. Like I probably could have been okay. Like if I would have just said, okay, I'm gonna prove them wrong, if I had that mentality, you know. But like I said, at St. John's, I felt like I was proving myself. All 4 years, the whole time, it felt like that. So when that happened, that New York Knicks thing, I think I lost my confidence even more. Like I think I was kind of like, man, you know, maybe this ain't for me. Like I started thinking like that. So the Larry Brown talked me off the ledge. He gave me a good conversation. He was like, you know, I know you're upset. He said, but we really want you. We you know, and all those things. So I kind of got myself together and I, you know, I kind of did it, went through the motions and, you know, finished my career, but I wasn't the same after that, guys.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Wow.
So now you join the Spurs, right? And you wind up, correct me if I'm wrong, but you wind up playing on 3 separate teams all in one season. Is that right?
Yes.
How did that go down?
Well, with the Spurs, when I was with the Spurs, we had myself, Willie Anderson, and Vernon Maxwell. We were the 3 rookies, and they offered us 3. Of course, Willie was in the lottery, so his contract was a lot different from Vernon and mine. But it was the same thing, 3-year deal, and they wanted to build the team around us. And my agent told me, don't do it. Like, sign a 1-year deal, show them what you could do, and then, you know, we'll go from there. So because of that, I had the least amount of years. You know how the business is, Chuck. I had the least amount of years on the contract, so it was easier to get rid of me. Right. So I was the one to go in that situation. Like, because we had a couple of guys got hurt. A couple of big guys went down and got hurt. So what I think they traded with Golden State for a big guy or something. And then I left there and went straight to Golden State. And now when I got to Golden State, Chuck, Don Nelson right away jumps all over me. I mean, first of all, he gives me a silly putty handshake when I meet him, meaning he's not even interested in me. He's not looking at me or anything. He's just like, oh, I don't think you could play in the NBA. Wow. I just wanted to get rid of this bum. Like, he called his guy a bum. And I think his name was Jerome Whitehead, an older guy.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Jerome Whitehead. Yeah, I just wanted to get rid of him. But that's kind of how my career started, you know, like kind of like that. That's what.
And then from there, how did you get to Philly?
I got to Philly. Well, interesting thing, you know, like Don Nelson would be on me all the time, like in the airports, after the games or anything. You're fucking up this team. You're not gonna, like, he would do that to me for no reason. I wasn't even playing. Like, I don't know what he had against me. But one time we were in the airport and Mitch Richmond and I was sitting like on, because they didn't travel. We traveled with the everyone. You know, we didn't have private planes or anything back then. So we were in the normal airport. And this one particular time, I don't know, I had enough or I wasn't in the mood. And I remember Mitch and I was sitting on a rail at the airport and we saw Don Nelson coming. So they would always joke about how Don Nelson treated me. So Mitch would look at me and say, oh, here he comes. Here he comes. You know he's going to give it to you. You know he's going to give it. I said, Mitch, not today, man. I said, I'm not in the mood. I hope he doesn't do it today. I'm not. So and here he comes. He's talking to Mitch. He's joking with Mitch. And then he says to me, what he always says, you're fucking this team up. You're not gonna. So I go, here we go. I'm listening, and he gets up close to me. So I go, oh. So I stood up, and Don Nelson's a big guy.
Yeah,
you know.
right.
So I stood up and we're eye to eye, and I'm like, look, I said, man, you can say what you want, but just respect me as a man. Like, I'm a grown man. So he's saying his stuff, I'm saying my stuff. We're flying to Dallas. So we get to Dallas, we go shoot around, we do all that. I get back to the hotel, I got a knock on my door. So I open the door, it's Don Nelson. So he says, where do you want to go? You want to go to New York or back to Oakland? So I was like, New York or Oakland? What do you mean? He said, we let you go, we released you today. So I'm like, oh God. So that's what he was waiting for. He was waiting for me to react to him, saying it, talking to me and treating me this way so he could get rid of me. You know, so when I finally stood up to him and I did it, like as soon as we got to Dallas, he got rid of me.
Wow.
Was that now the Warriors? That was Run
to,
TMC? Was that the Run
no,
TMC?
that was before that. That was before that.
All right. Okay.
But
So
Chris was at Indiana at that point, or he was
no, Chris was there. Chris was there.
So you got to play with Chris
He
too.
was at Golden State while this was going on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was there. I talked about it to him. Like, but I don't think he really could do anything about it,
Right. Wow.
But then that's how I got to the Sixers. Like after he cut me, nobody picked me up. So I went to the CBA like for 2 games. I think I averaged like 25 points, 22 rebounds, 3 blocks, like for 2 games. And the Sixers pulled me right up. Like after that, pulled me up.
So you finally after visiting Temple and wanting to go to Temple, possibly you wind up in Philly anyway at the end of your NBA career. And how long did you play with the Sixers? Just
listen, man, he wasn't going to go to Villanova, okay?
No, I didn't say he
just
would.
let this go, this Philadelphia thing.
Listen, he's the guy that talked about John Chaney and the Temple Owls, Yeah.
So, and actually, I actually got to know him and those guys really good when I was with the Sixers. Like I kind of regret not going,
Did you hang around there in the summertime and play in the Sunny Hill League and stuff?
I did. Oh, Sunny was my man. Oh, I did.
The Sunny Hill League was awesome.
When he brought up to Palestra, I have good memories there because I was in there so much in the summertime.
Yeah, Sonny loves that place, the Palestra.
Yeah, that's my favorite arena.
That's been on here many times with
Sonny. Yeah, because what was the guy named Sonny that used to run the Palestra? Sonny, black guy.
Sonny Hill.
Yeah.
They were good games.
Sonny, it's a winner. His game's Sonny.
Right. So anyway, so now you're in Philly, and then after the season, what happens? Because did you get the like another dose of regret or whatever it was a problem for you afterwards where you say now I got to go find a place to play? Did they come out and tell you, or how did that work?
That was probably my best experience was in Philadelphia. Like those guys treated me great, and they told me from the beginning, like at the time, they told me that they wanted to sign me. They wanted to do these things, but again, business. Because if you remember, I became a starter for that team.
Yeah.
I became a part of the starting 5. So what happened at the end of the year, the 2 new teams came in. I think it was Minnesota and Orlando.
Oh, right. That's right.
So what we had to do was each team had to leave 2 guys unprotected. Yeah. So unfortunately, I was one of the guys. I forgot who else was the guy that they left, but left unprotected, and the Timberwolves took me.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And then you wind up having a long career overseas, right?
I was going to ask you, overseas, you played a long time.
Yeah, I had a good time overseas.
So what was your favorite country to play in?
Well, it was tough. Like maybe between like Paris, I had a good time in France, and Israel. I think those are the 2 best places I've been.
So when you were in Paris, did you hook up with Ron in Paris? Ron had a
Absolutely. That's Ron.
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting, Shel, to me, as we're talking, right? You wind up possibly with Mark Jackson. Okay, it doesn't work out. You go to San Antonio. Was Walter there at that time? You're with Walter.
They traded him though right before the season started.
But you get to put on a professional uniform with a teammate, with a college teammate. Then you go to Golden State and you're with Mully.
Yep.
Then you go to it's like it followed you all the way around, and then you go to Europe and you're with another college teammate.
I never thought of that until just now. That's amazing.
That's pretty cool, I think. At least you know people,
absolutely. Regardless of everything I've been through, it's like God had an angel there for me every place.
Somebody looking out for you, not by accident.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even
So
think of that.
did you, when you were in France, did you play for Ron? Because he coached too, right? He was a GM and a
Yeah,
coach.
he coached after me.
Okay.
After I, that next year, he
Right.
coached.
Wow.
So
Mhm.
you
Israel
played,
wasn't crazy for you?
Israel? No,
Yeah,
Israel.
I mean, with all the stuff that goes on over there, right? It could be
Well,
dangerous.
it's kind of like here. Like, it's kind of like in New York City, you hear about a lot of the crime, but you don't see a lot of it,
Right.
It's kind of like that. Like, the things that were going on, it didn't feel like it was anywhere near. Like, we didn't have any, like, I think a bomb went up one time at the mall. A bomb went off. But that's my whole 10 months there. That was like the only thing that happened,
Wow.
Did you spend any time in Germany?
Not a lot of time. Like, I went through there visiting where we had games in Germany where we might stay a week or something like that. But I never played there. Like, I've been there longer than a week. No.
Yeah, because I know Wendell played a lot in Germany. He played a little bit in Italy, and Raf played in Italy and Spain. I think Wendell played some in Spain. Wendell, Alexis.
Yeah. I played against Wendell in Italy.
I'm sure you did.
I'm sure you did, right? But those games had to be fun because you're seeing guys that you played with and against already, so you were familiar with some of your opponents, I would imagine, right?
No, that's what made it awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's really good. So we're getting up against it. So I got to ask you, when you get involved with the kids, which I know you're doing now, I want you to talk about what you're doing now with your program that you have and stuff. What do you tell kids that are looking to do and following the same type of path that you did through basketball? Talk about what you're doing, and then talk about the kids that you work with and what you would say to them.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of things going on right now, Chuck and Sonny. First thing is, if you see my shirt, this right here, the logo, this is 10 Toes Down. Okay. It's a clothing and clothing garb by Lester Branch is his name. And he's a Long Island guy, by the way. He's good friends with Tobias Harris's dad.
Terrell. Yep.
Terrell. Yeah, Terrell. Lester's a good friend of Terrell. And they have this company, he has this company called 10 Toes Down. It's basically meaning you're 10 feet, you're 2 feet on the ground, you're constantly grinding, constantly going. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to represent with them. We're doing big things. And also, I got a book coming out, Chuck, called Kojic Trailblazer. Okay. And the Kojic is an acronym for the Church of God in Christ, as I mentioned earlier. And it's Kojic Trailblazer because I talk about my troubles that I had with the church, growing up in the church, and I talk about the troubles that I had being the trailblazer, the first one from my city, from Amityville, to make it to the NBA, to be drafted to the NBA. Yep. That's coming out soon as well. So that's basically what I'm doing right now.
That's great. That's great.
That's awesome.
Great. And I thought you were working with kids too.
Yeah. No, as far as the kids, what we do is, and we're trying to, I'm with 10 Toes Down. What we really want to do is we want to do a Big East tournament that we want to get going. Maybe a tournament for the kids so we can impress upon them all these things that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Great. Things that it takes in life. Because my main thing was I didn't have mentors growing up. I didn't have anything like that. So that's why I wanted to become one and give the kids a path to take, because I had a plan to make it to the NBA. Like, that was my goal, my dream, to make it to the NBA. But once I got there, I had no plan.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just there looking around, happy to be there, but I had no plan.
Right.
So it was inevitable. I failed. But that's what I want to mostly instill upon the kids, to have a plan all the way through once you get there. To have a plan. That's what my biggest thing was.
Good stuff, man. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. And we really, truly appreciate you coming out tonight and hanging with us on the Rewind. All right. Our special guest tonight is St. John's legend, the Amityville Horror, Shelton Jones, joining Sonny and I. Thanks again for being on. And the Big East Rewind was produced and directed by Nick Chico Torres and Daryl Gurney. Easy for me to say, Sonny. And and check us out on all things social media. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything else by putting Big East Rewind in the space bar. And you can also see us on YouTube. All of our videos are up on the YouTube channel and the Big East Rewind, and you see all the shows that we've done. We're probably somewhere in the upper 80s now, Sonny, for all the shows that we've done.
Which is awesome. 10 toes down, baby.
10 toes down.
10 toes down.
Hey, thanks a lot for being in here with us. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Shelton.
Take care, guys.